Hey, 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 welcome. Hello, everybody. Welcome to Conversations with Geoff. It's a beautiful day in Houston, Texas. And boy, I'm glad you carved out some time because we've got some exciting things for you to hear today. And again, welcome to Conversations with Geoff. For those of you that know me and been supporting us, we really appreciate it. I'm glad you always show up. The audiences that come always participate, always share some love with the speakers we bring in. And I don't expect it to be any different today. And this young man that we're going to bring on in a couple of minutes is going to lay you out. So get your notebooks ready, get your recorders ready, whatever it is. And if you want to learn a lot about commercial real estate and about life and how you manage all these things, you're in for a treat. But I did want to take a moment too before we go there to let you know that we're going to expand our reach a little bit. We've been asked to talk to you folks out there that are in corporate America or in jobs or in businesses that you've been having a impact with COVID, and now you're really thinking about doing something different, not sure how to do that, afraid you're going to lose your job, afraid you're going to go to work and get sick, all those things that are real life situations, man. So we've got some speakers we're going to bring in to talk about that and help you maneuver away from what it is you're scared and step into what you're really supposed to do. And for you folks involved in the teaching arena or have kids in school, there's some solution-oriented processes that we're going to speak to that about. And obviously health. Health is a key thing, man. So we're going to talk business, family, health, and how we can share and expand our audience to help you grow and change your world, baby. So, hey, listen, I'm going to be quiet, grab a seat, and I'm going to bring on now the young man from the D.C. area. Be ready for it. Get your notepads out. Open your mind. And let me introduce to you Mr. Kevin Breckenridge. Hey, Kev.
What's up, Geoff?
All right, man. Good morning. Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning. Good morning, man. You raising the bar, man. I hope I can. I hope I can deliver.
Oh, no question, man. That was a modest introduction.
Appreciate it.
I'm sure the folks that are here will recognize that by the time we're finished. So thanks again for carving out the time, man.
No problem. No problem. So Geoff, man, thanks for having me. I really appreciate it. I'm glad we were able to connect earlier this year. I know we both have been doing different things to build out our platform and most importantly, reach, our audiences and our community and just share the information of real estate, share the information of investing, share the information of wealth building. I think that all of that is extremely important on being able to raise the consciousness of our community and helping them to see and understand what the opportunities are. And with our experience and being privy to the knowledge and information and the experience that we've been able to develop, I think it's imperative that people like us, continue to come together to be able to share that knowledge and that information. So thank you for putting together this platform and giving me the opportunity to speak to your audience.
And you're welcome. That's really my team that goes out and finds the folks that really speak to our heart. And when they came and they said, "Hey, we got to bring this guy on." So to my team and to you for saying that, I appreciate it.
Absolutely.
So, why don't you kind of back up a minute, man, and talk to us about your real estate? How long you been in the business? I know you're not new to the game. Tell us a little bit about how you got started and where you are in that space.
Yeah, so man, it's been a long journey. It's been a long journey. I technically first got into real estate in 2008, and that was as I was interning for the mayor of Cincinnati. And I just happened, I went to the University of Cincinnati. I was a College of Business student majoring in accounting and international business. And at that time, I really didn't know what I wanted to do. I actually was leaning more towards becoming an event planner. At that time, I was throwing a lot of parties. I basically had a party promotion company, and me and a couple buddies, we used to put parties together. And I had a lot of experience putting events together, bringing people together, and I just really liked that process, and I like that experience of bringing things together. So that's kind of the direction I was thinking about going in. But winter, it was around January, February of my senior year, I saw an opportunity come through my school email for an economic development internship under the mayor of Cincinnati's office in partnership with the economic development department. And so it looked really interesting. I felt like I had, all of the qualifications. So I went ahead, put together, the resume, made all the edits, submitted the resume, the application, and called up one of my frat brothers. I had a frat brother who was working for the mayor. So I called him up. I said, hey, man, I just applied for this internship. If you could put in a good word for me, I'd appreciate it. And, that network came through.
Yes.
I had the interview, had a couple interviews, and they offered me the internship. And that internship had a focus of there were two primary goals. One was to work with the International Franchise Association to bring, basically to develop and bring a conference to the city of Cincinnati that would help introduce people to franchising opportunities. That was the first project. The second project was helping the city get prepared, specifically the mayor and the economic development department, but helping them get prepared for ICSC. And for anyone who's listening, if you aren't familiar with ICSC, it's basically the largest real estate conference in the world. It's mostly geared towards, it's commercial and it's mostly geared towards retail, but every year, outside of the pandemic, every year about 50,000 people come from all over the world and they convene on Las Vegas. And I can't remember what the statistic is now, but they say the majority of the commercial deals that happen throughout the year, they happen or originate at this conference. So the city was trying to, at the time, they had a huge waterfront development project called the Banks, very transformative project. And so they were trying to sell the city and sell this development opportunity, sell the city as a place to do business, sell this opportunity as an opportunity for businesses to come in. So I did a lot of groundwork in helping package the city, helping set up all of these different meetings. And then I had the opportunity to actually travel to Vegas, attend the conference, sit down in some of these large meetings, and really see how business was being done at a very large level. So that was technically my first introduction into real estate. Yeah, but at that point, I still wasn't like, real estate is it. That was just an internship and an opportunity.
Well, that's a high level exposure at such an early age. I mean, there's no way you could get away from it. You were hooked. You just didn't know it yet.
Yeah, absolutely. I think at the time I was 23. Yeah, I think I was 23. And seeing and having $1 billion conversations, meeting people that had $1 billion portfolios, and coming from, my background, for me, none of that really seemed like it was relative to me, right? It was an internship. It was a lot of experience, it was a lot of exposure. And with me being a business student, I was still looking at other opportunities in business as well as government, because I was dabbling in government now at that point, but I never considered real estate as a career opportunity.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. So how far from that point to when you really got going in real estate? Many years? What did you do between that little gap, man?
Yeah. So it was about 2 years, 2.5 years, before I really made the decision to actually jump into real estate. In between that gap, I had two positions. One, so I decided to go into business after school. I got offered a job in a management rotation program working for a commercial printer. And it was a corporate company. They had bought out one of the local companies, and they had a management rotation program. So I got hired to do that. I didn't really like the company. I didn't like the area. I didn't like printing. And so I really was suffering mentally, because I was like, this is not what I want to do. But I was stuck because it was right around the time that the 2008 economic crash happened. So I'm watching literally hundreds of people get laid off. But because I'm in this management program, I'm the future of the company, I had a layer of protection. But I knew that I had to get out of there because it just wasn't good for my mental health. If you ever had a job that you don't see any opportunity there, you don't see any growth, after a while, it starts to weigh on you mentally. So anyway, I left there. I went to Korea to teach English, Seoul, South Korea, to teach English. And while I was in Seoul, I just did a lot of soul searching to try to figure out, okay, what do I actually want to do with my life?
Yeah.
And that's when I was like, you know what, I think I want to give this real estate thing a try. So I started doing some research, And for me, I figured that the easiest way for me to get into the business was to become a licensed agent. And so I came back to the States, got my license, and that's how I started really building out that career in real estate. Yeah, that was I got my first license in March of 2011.
Okay, that's great, man. Hey, I have to back you up for just a second.
Yeah.
This is what we do here. When that job you had, I was imagining myself holding my head every morning, thinking, "Oh God, I got to go back there." What was it? If you look back now and you say, "Geoff, man, if I didn't have this, I would have left a lot sooner." What was that kept you in that job you didn't like? Because people out there in the world today, Kevin, are suffering, in jobs right now that either they're going to lose because the company's going to go out of business, or they have to go work from home and they can't do it. All that stuff around COVID. So what was it for you? Share it with the audience that they can set some people free,
man. I got chills, man. I got chills. I got chills because that's a real conversation. And with me having the mindset that I have and understanding the dynamic of corporate America versus you as an independent person, and seeing people get laid off by the hundreds, and even before they got laid off by the hundreds, I'm having conversations with people who were working in these positions 15, 20, 30 years, and they weren't getting any raises, or the raises that they were getting were so minimal, right, that they couldn't really use that to elevate their quality of life. So very early on, I realized that these companies really don't have your best interests at heart, right? I mean, they do, but they don't. They can replace you in a second. And they have a significant control over your financial prosperity, especially if you don't learn how to invest. So for me at that time, I didn't like the people I was working with. I didn't feel like I was being respected because I was working in a predominantly white organization, and the only people of color. So it was a printing plant. You had management and you had the people who worked the factory floor, right? In management, there were no black folks. Okay. And then there were only a couple black folks that worked in the company, and then they worked on the floor in the factory, doing the menial jobs. They weren't even managers on the floor. So the dynamics there were very unhealthy. And I think that the mind and the body has a way of being able to decipher and discern if you're in an environment that's healthy for you. So I started to feel depressed. It was hard to get up in the mornings to go to work. When I got home, I was so exhausted that all I wanted to do was go to bed and literally get home at 6 and just lay in bed, go to sleep from 6 until I had to go to work the next day. It became really, really, really a really, really unhealthy environment. And so for me, I was looking for other opportunities. I knew there had to be, something else that I was meant to do. And that's when I decided to go off to Korea. But I think to answer your question, for anyone who is laid off or is in a position and you think that entrepreneurship is something that you want to try, at the end of the day, one of the things I always say is that you are the CEO of yourself first. And oddly enough, one of the epiphanies I came to while I was at that job is, hey, I need to treat my life like a business the same way that these companies treat their business like a business. I am the CEO of me, which means I've got revenue, I've got expenses, right? I've got things I got to manage. I've got things I got to be on top of, things I got to take an accounting for. So whether you work for somebody or whether you don't, before you even get into work, you are the CEO of you. So you have to have the mindset of a CEO. You may not have that title on your job, but you have that title within your own life. And when you're able to adopt that type of mindset, you're then able to go into work with a different perspective, because now you have the same title and the same perspective of the person who's running the organization. So you understand, what their problems are, what their challenges are. when it comes to growing a company, when it comes to growing a business, when it comes to making personnel decisions. You make all of that within your own life. You just make it from a different dynamic. So when you start to develop that CEO mindset, you start to develop that ownership mindset, hopefully you also start to develop a sense of what your worth is. And when you develop a sense of what your worth is, especially financially, over time, you realize that that job is not going to be able to pay you, what you are worth. Now, that doesn't mean you can't use that job to leverage and create opportunities outside of that employment that help you develop a platform that helps you reach your financial potential. But if a company is paying you $40,000 or they're paying you $60,000, but yet you're producing millions of dollars worth of revenue for them, right? That means somebody is able to profit off of you and your skill set at a much higher rate than what they're paying you. So if you take a step back and you look at the situation completely, then you should be able to see that you have the ability to generate revenue at that same amount, right? Because it's your skill set, it's your mindset, it's your mentality, it's your hustle, it's your work ethic. It's just producing in a different vehicle. But that's confirmation that you have the ability to produce that on your own. So then the challenge becomes, how do you mentally, physically, emotionally bring that out of you under your own banner, as opposed to under the banner of someone else?
Yeah, man. I'm taking notes here and listening to you and reflecting back on how it was for me. So very similar in there. One of the comments was someone was saying, I'm living this now. So I hope they got that message, because it's you mentioned the mindset, the refocus. It's the season of we like to say in our groups, reorganization, refocus, and reorganization, like you were talking about, putting yourself first. Right. And then seeing yourself as that CEO. Great perspective. So, Mr. CEO, let's continue. So you got into the real estate piece, and how was your confidence at that time? I mean, what was the struggle when you got started, and how'd you overcome it?
Yeah, absolutely. So before I go there, I just want to say, as we finish up that last point, man, you have got to be willing to bet on yourself. You've got to be willing to bet on yourself. One of the things about real estate, and especially real estate investing, it is a pure calculation of risk and taking risk. If you want to be independent in any form or fashion, you have to be willing to take risk, and you have to be willing to bet on yourself. At the end of the day, you got to bet on yourself. And I say this, and I can't fully contextualize this, but you have to determine, what you are willing to risk in order to reach that level of independence within your life. Maybe we can contextualize that a little later. But when I first got into real estate, oh man, let's see, confidence wise, I was actually, I had a pretty good confidence. I think I was naive. I had the confidence of being naive. That's right. And having a track record of being successful. I had money in the bank. At that point, I had already, I made it through college. I funded my way through college, between working and student loans. I had a very successful run in college, did a lot of different things. I paid for myself to travel around the world. At that point, I had already lived in Korea for a year. I had already been to China and spent some time in China. I had a significant amount of life experience, and that confidence carried over. But then I was also naive about real estate sales. And so when I first got into real estate, I'm like, all right, I got some money in the bank. I'm good to go. And 6 months down the line, that money started to run out, and I realized, like, this thing it's a different type of beast. And I wasn't really a salesperson, and didn't have all of the sales skills that I've been able to develop and that I have now. So I had life confidence. I had that, that experience, and I think that carried me through. And then the initial momentum of getting my license, I first got my license in Washington, D.C., and then immediately after that, I got my license in Maryland. And then immediately after that, I got my license in Virginia. So I'm licensed in 3 states, just carrying that momentum. And that carried me for a while. But after that first 6 months, that's when I started to have those initial bumps in the road that weren't just, when you're talking about real estate sales or entrepreneurship, there are so many different levels. There's the levels of you as a person, right? There's your skill set. There's the entrepreneurial mindset. There are the business skills, the management skills, the sales skills, the accounting skills, the finance skills, right? There are so many different layers that as you go through the experience of entrepreneurship, that experience starts to expose you, and it starts to expose you to the gaps in your skill set, because you're no longer thinking, right? And when you're an employee, your task is to master a single job. And they say that it takes upwards of 5 years for a person to master a single role. Well, when you're an entrepreneur, right, you're not trying to master a single role. Ultimately, you're trying to master an entire organization, at least conceptually, so that you can build that organization and have people who can come in and then master those individual roles. It was about 6 months before I hit that first bump in the road.
That's good stuff you just shared here. And I made a note of something you said, so I'm going to back you up again, because I think this is going to help a lot of people that are either here now or going to hear a little bit later. When you talked about being exposed and those times of exposure, I'm just thinking of myself when we really are in uncomfortable places, or we made a mistake, or somebody, shut down our vision, or, I always like to say get punched in the face. That's just kind of how it feels, right? And then what happens at that point? That's, if you had stopped, you wouldn't be here today.
Absolutely.
So what can you share in those valleys that fueled you? You had the confidence, but confidence wanes when you don't get the results. So can you speak to that a little bit?
Yeah, absolutely, man. I've had many valley experiences, a lot of punches in the face, and some of those gut checks. I think at the end of the day, when we talk about betting on yourself, you really absolutely have to believe in the dream and in the vision that you have for your life. I think early on, one of the difficulties of going through that process is developing a clarity of vision. And when you first start out, it depends on where you're coming from, right? Like if you've been working in a job for 15 years and you see a path forward in that same type of field, but doing it yourself, then you have 15 years that you have experience that can help you craft a more clear vision, right? But if you're just getting started, or you're starting in a totally different area, that clarity of vision is going to be tough for you to establish with the level of clarity that you need, especially if you aren't in an environment where you have partners that have that experience, et cetera, that can help you craft the clarity of that vision. So initially, knowing in your heart, in your mind, in your body, in your soul, in every fabric of your being, that literally every fabric of your being, that there is something greater for you, right? There's something that you are more capable of doing, a life that you are capable of living, a level of freedom that you crave and that you desire. When you really believe in that dream and in that feeling and in that emotion, and in that vision, as clear or not clear as it may be, you cannot lose that faith in yourself at the end of the day. And whether you're religious or you're not religious, whether it's universal, whether it's God, whether it's Allah, whatever, however you characterize, however you relate to the energy that vibrates throughout this world and throughout this universe, you cannot stop believing in yourself. And the sooner that you can embrace the reality that there is going to be some difficult times ahead, There are going to be some punches in the mouth. There are going to be some gut checks. There are going to be times when you might even think that, yo, I might be crazy, right? Seriously, you might think that you're crazy because you're continuing pushing on when you don't know. The reality is there might be times where you don't know what you're going to eat, right? Or the quality of what you're eating is not what you are accustomed to. Or the clothes that you wear may not be as nice as they once were, right? You're going to go through these ebbs and flows in this journey where you're literally trying to break through, and you're trying to break through the atmosphere to create a new reality. And for you to create a new reality, you have to create a new human being.
Come on, man. That's it.
And that is a very difficult process when you're talking about life, you're talking about people, and you're talking about life and people who habitually, right? Our innate nature is to stay comfortable. It's not really to change, especially when we become adults. We are who we are. But as an entrepreneur, as a business owner, you have to constantly fight that inertia of comfortability, and that's going to cause you to experience some turbulence, but you cannot lose sight of that dream and of that vision, of that goal, and in that belief in yourself. And over time, that stuff will become more clear. And as it becomes more clear, it becomes easier for you to continue to pursue, what you're trying to accomplish.
Oh man, that's powerful stuff. And I made a note that we should schedule another meeting, just all in and around that. Because that is the key to everything. You don't shift that 6 inches between your ears, and as you know, you're not going to do it. So I was thinking the whole time you were sharing, and we'll move on for a second, it was about mastering that conviction, your conviction over your convenience. And that's been just screaming at me all week, because then everything that I probably will no longer is relevant. It's I must. And if I must, I can and I will.
Eric Thomas.
Come on, man. So let's keep moving. But I really would like to kind of come back maybe at another time, dive into that, because I really believe that that's going to help a lot of people that are here today and those coming later on. Because I call it the COVID opportunity, baby. It's here again, round 2. So, all right, man. Let me stay on track here. I got some notes. I got so many things I want to ask you, and we don't have a lot of time to do it. So I appreciate your message so far. Pop it in the chats either when you come in later or while you're here. Show Kevin some love. I told you he was going to drop some nuggets, right? So let's talk a little bit more, man. Because I know there's a part of you that is about giving back, and you do so many things in different levels. What do you like to spend your time doing on other platforms, and where would you steer people to that are looking for more information, to kind of start with that you're exposed to?
Yeah, absolutely. So let me finish that last point. I'm gonna say one thing, and I hope this helps. I really like what you said, mastering that conviction. But I hope this helps. You have to embrace the reality that we live in a jungle. We live in a jungle, right? Most people, especially Black folks, right? Most people have not been out of the United States, right? I've been fortunate. I've been blessed to literally have traveled all around the world. Still a couple places I haven't been, but through my travels, I've come to understand, and having my real estate background, that if there is no house, if there is no office building, if there is no school, if there's no retail building, you know what you have? You have the jungle, right? You literally have the jungle. You've got the overgrowth of trees. You've got snakes, right? I'm fortunate. I live. My house backs into the woods. So we have all different types of wildlife, right? We got frogs when it rains. We've got snakes in the yard if I let it get too high. We got bunny rabbits in the morning when the sun is coming up, right? This is a real life jungle. And unless you embrace that reality that no one is coming to save you, no, there may be some assistance, right? but no one is coming to save you. No one is coming to provide for you. No one is coming to take care of you and your family, right?
Yes.
And we have prime examples of this right now. If you look at Haiti, look at the situation in Haiti, look at the earthquake, look at the devastation, look at what's going on in Afghanistan, right? These are various serious situations. No one is coming to save you. So it is up to you to try your best to build a situation and build an environment that insulates you from the harsh realities of life. So master your conviction and bet on yourself. Now, in terms of different platforms and giving back, I can tell you definitely the mindset and the mentality that I have now in terms of giving back, the deftness of that certainly developed from one of my Valley experiences. I've always been involved. I've always volunteered. I've always done mentorship. But the mentality that I have now certainly has developed as deeply and as strongly as I feel now, has certainly developed from a Valley experience, and we can talk about that in a second. But I'm on Facebook, I'm on Instagram. I don't tweet as much as I should. I'm on Twitter, I'm on LinkedIn. You know, I'm on all of the different major social media channels. I've got my handle in the right under my name, Legacy in Motion. You can find me on my website, kevinsbreckenridge.com. I'm very easy to find. I mean, you Google my name and you'll find stuff as far back as high school, high school track stuff. So I'm very easy to find. But for me, my mentality is working in real estate and seeing how different communities and cultures build wealth, how they reach independence, how they approach business, all of these different things that help people elevate their quality of life and their standard of life. I feel like I have definitely a duty and a responsibility to help share that knowledge and that information with other people. Now, last year, we had the unfortunate death of George Floyd, and you had a lot of companies and corporations saying that, okay, hey, now we're going to take our diversity and inclusion to another level. There was a reckoning in every industry, even commercial real estate, where you have all these major corporations who are 99% white at the leadership, saying, oh, we're going to do more to diversify our efforts. So what can we do? And so you have all these different people coming up with ideas, all of these people outside of outside of my community, trying to come up with ideas on what they can do to help, or what the solution is, or whatever the case may be. And I see all of this going on. And for me, I never see the real answer to the question. And the real answer to the question is you teach people, right? You teach people, you expose them to the knowledge and information, you expose them to the industry. Of course, you hire and give them job opportunities. But for me, being in the position that I'm in, I can't rely on a major corporation to get through their corporate processes to say we're going to give that knowledge and information to the people. And definitely can't rely on them to give that to the community, my community. So for me, what I'm doing is raising my hand and saying, okay, I may not be the most accomplished, the most experienced, I may not be the richest or the wealthiest, but I've got a ton of experience and knowledge and information that can help you, whether it's build a 6-figure a year business, whether it's make 6 figures from an investment, whether it's to make 7 figures from an investment, whether it's to develop the mindset of a CEO or an entrepreneur, to become a business owner, whatever. I have a ton of knowledge and information. And so I want to share that directly with people who look like me, because a lot of times people don't look like us that may come to our community and aren't quite sure how to help. So I want to look like me and be authentically me. Right? I like to grow my hair out sometimes, be authentically me, and connect and collaborate with other people who have a similar mindset and mentality when it comes to sharing their gifts, to share their knowledge, to want to help people and help people advance. Because for me, that's actually creating and making change and helping other people improve their quality of life. And that I take that, very serious, and it's very important to me.
Yeah, yeah. You know what I would tell you, that perspective with those corporations, because I know that they are out there, but having that mindset and having your abilities, you can be that bridge between those corporations that truly want to make a difference and come into the communities and the individuals. But in the meantime, you're doing what you said. It's a jungle, and you're taking what you've learned to survive for yourself and teaching others right now. How to be wealthy, whatever that might be, and how you can focus and all that. So that's good stuff. Now, before I go on, is there anything else you would like to add? Because I know you always have one last.
I'll finish that point with this. Collaboration over competition.
Amen.
Collaboration over competition.
Yeah, one more time. Yes.
Yeah, when you are able to give and to receive equally, and you're able to give more than you receive, you're able to be an open conduit, right, of energy, of information, of knowledge, and you don't have this mentality or this mindset that it's only about me, right? Like you take care of yourself, but you can have so much more of an impact and experience life in a much fuller way by being an open conduit. There's more than enough to go around. The world needs us. Our country needs us. Our country is facing so many challenges from so many different areas, and especially from a real estate standpoint. I mean, our country is facing some real challenges. So there is an abundance of opportunity in real estate across the spectrum for people of all colors, of all ages, of all races, of all cultures, of all backgrounds, right? There is more than enough opportunity. No one person can take advantage of it all. That's so right. Be that open conduit, share, right?
Yes, sir.
Collaboration over competition.
I love that. I love that. I love that indeed. What do they say? Keep your friends close, but your enemies closer. The old saying.
Yeah.
And convert them into a similar mindset over time. So I love that. I love that. Hey, listen, man, I want to get to something that I know is really, 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 really important to you. Tell us about the little one, right? New pops, new business. Talk to us about that. All right.
Yeah. So, man, I have I've got a young daughter. I think she's almost 18 months now. Yeah. And it's crazy because we had a baby during the pandemic, and right a month after everything really shut down, she was born in late April, and she was born 2 months early, and we had to go through the whole COVID experience, COVID in the hospital, the testing, all these different things that you can do and you can't do. And then not being able to have the type of help and assistance because everybody is quarantined, everybody doesn't know what's going on. So we toughed it out. Me and my wife, we toughed it out. And then my mother-in-law, she definitely came through and stayed with us a lot last year and really helped us manage through COVID, manage through having, the new baby. And then at that point in time, it was also an interesting period for me because it was one of those transition periods in my life, and 2020 was going to be more of what's happening this year. But because COVID started to shut a lot down, we had the baby. I was able to put things kind of on the back burner and be more of a dad, be more of a dad and a caretaker. And be more of what my family needed me to be at that moment in time. So it was a good experience. She's now at daycare. She's running. She's climbing.
Yeah.
She's trying to talk. She's got her own little attitude, her own personality. And man, I tell you, that is one of the most beautiful life experiences I've ever experienced. Just the joy of having a child and waking up every day to this person that's developing every day. it's a beautiful experience, man.
Yeah. And I had the pleasure of meeting her on one of our first talks.
Yeah.
And I saw it then. She already had your rap, man.
Yeah.
She already had your rap. And then I think too at that time, weren't you kind of doing a new business or moving into something new in your work world at the same time?
Yeah. So man, it's so last year, let's see. So right now, so I'm a commercial real estate broker. Of course, I'm an investor, and my background was in residential. And about 2 years ago, I decided to start to make my exit out of residential and started to close down my residential business and started to make a transition into commercial. And initially, I initially wasn't looking to get back into commercial, get back into sales. I was mostly just going to focus on investing. And once 2020 happened, it really put everything up in a tailspin, especially if you're investing in multifamily, really any asset class, and you're coming in more so as a new investor, right? A lot of my prior experience was in single family. I developed some multifamily, but the acquisition and hold of multifamily and then doing it on a very large scale is a different background from what my background was, right? So the challenge with that last year was, okay, well, one, what's going to happen with the economy? What's going to happen with real estate? Yeah. How do you evaluate properties of this magnitude if there's going to be a significant increase in vacancies?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
There are a lot of unknowns. And from the angle that I was coming from, so if you're watching, you don't know what a syndicator is or what syndication is. Basically, a syndicator is someone who raises capital to acquire deals, and they own the deals, they operate the deals. But that syndicator is pulling investor capital from outside investors. So that position is one of extreme responsibility and magnitude because you're managing other people's finances, other people's wealth as it relates to this investment. So when you're talking about risk evaluation, and trying to preserve capital, because at the number one principle is the preservation of capital. So if someone invests with you, you have, at a minimum, the goal is to preserve their capital. They don't want to lose it. They want to preserve it. So when you start talking about all these risky dynamics that are revolving around an investment, then it heightens the risk profile. So for me, I was like, I don't want to take on, and I've syndicated in the past. I know what that feels like. I know what it's like going through difficult deals and you have investor capital in it. So for me, I didn't see that as something that I wanted to take on last year. So I decided that, hey, I think I'm gonna get back into brokerage and transition into commercial brokerage as opposed to residential brokerage. And that's when I started to make that transition into commercial brokerage. So.
And things are well. I mean, you're picking up your stride now.
Yeah, absolutely, man. I enjoy commercial a lot. It's a much different beast and a much different environment than residential. Definitely, it definitely has helped a lot with my understanding of multifamily at the higher levels because I'm able to interact differently with property owners, portfolio owners. One of the limitations with only investing is that you're limited to how much you can do, right? Yeah. Or how much you can raise. So there's a limitation in the involvement that you have with that particular asset class. Right. When you're a broker or an agent, if you're doing residential, when you're brokering, you now have the opportunity to engage in the asset class. You're able to engage in transactions a lot more frequently. And that's another challenge with 2020. A lot of deal volume went down significantly. Deals weren't happening. Capital wasn't flowing. But from the broker standpoint, you're able now to interact with transactions a lot more frequently, with people a lot more frequently. You're able to get a lot more perspectives from different property owners that have different levels of portfolios. And then it just helps with your overall acquisition skills, your ability to analyze deals. The acquisitions by itself is a totally different skill set to be able to master that can ultimately benefit you. But yeah, it's given me the platform to be able to do that, as well as expand my credibility, right? My experience, my network, right? I have a global network now through my brokerage that's over 60,000 strong. You know, I have a lot of more tools and resources, so it's been good.
Well, I mean, it's all part of this magnificent journey you're on. You're just getting started.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, I've got one more question for you.
Sure.
I'm running out of time. And for those of you to come on later, his information is in there. So I'm going to make sure you give us one more time how we can reach out and get a hold of you there. And we'll make sure we put it in the chat when we're finished. What parting words do you want to leave the audience with? I mean, we talked a lot. In my mind, we crushed some excuses along the way about experience, not having experience, not having all the answers, but making the decision anyway, owning the responsibility upon ourselves. You know, so just some great little nuggets. What can you leave us today with on top of everything else you did? You know, in a couple minutes.
Yeah, absolutely. So let me ask you this really quickly. What is your goal, or one of your goals with the platform in terms of helping people out? So I want to make sure that I can give them something, you know, that's in line with helping you achieve that goal.
That's a great question. I would tell you, traditionally, it's been about helping that new primary investor go from that feeling of overwhelm, self-doubt, and fear, you know, and take action. Sit the paper down. You got enough planning. You've done enough thinking to take action. Mm-hmm. And now we're moving into that person that's in a job or a business that they know it's not fitting for them. Mm-hmm. Kind of do the same thing. And it circulates around mindset. Mindset has been our foundation. It's going to continue to be that.
Yep.
Helping people pivot into the space that they've been called to do and take action right away.
Okay, perfect. All right. So, man, nuggets. I'll start off with mindset is everything. And it's funny, I was thinking about this earlier. The mind is so powerful. It has the ability to attract and repel, right? Yes. It has the ability to attract the things that you want, as well as attract the things that you don't want, right? And it has the ability to repel the things that you want, as well as repel the things that you don't want. But our mind and our mindset is really the key to unlocking the difference, the change that we want to see in our lives. And the only way to change your mindset is to take in new information. And that's why platforms like this are so powerful, because it gives you the opportunity to listen to other people and to hear how they think, how they operate, some of the different decisions and situations that they had to face, because it helps to shed light on your own journey. Yes. So mindset, being open and being willing to change your mindset and to challenge yourself to change. You know, one of the things when I was back in 2008, when I mentioned to you, I got stuck in that job, man, I had gone through an experience where, and I don't know if anyone has ever experienced this on here, but I had gotten to a point mentally where I felt like my mind was just going in circles. Like it was the same, it was the same thing over and over and over and over. And when I look back on that experience and I look back on that journey, I'm able to see, one, how powerful our mind is, but also how important it is that we learn to master our mind and master our ability to control our thoughts, control the way we think, control the way we respond, control the way we react. Essentially, you have to learn how to master yourself and master the nuances of who you are. And as you develop that ability to master yourself and to master who you are, you develop more discipline to be able to change the direction of your life based on the information that you take in. So if you've been sitting on the sidelines and you've been taking in all of this information, you've been studying your next journey, and you haven't started to actually take steps, there's a classic saying in the Bible, right? Faith without works is dead. So at some point, you have to start taking those steps in implementing the things that you are learning and have that faith in yourself, have that faith in God, have that faith in Allah, have that faith in the universe, have that faith in that higher power that you believe in, have faith in yourself, right? Bet on yourself, have that mastering of conviction and start to move. And one of the interesting things I learned as I was traveling through my journey is no matter where you go, somebody's gonna be there, right? Like it's a really interesting thing. There are people who never leave their neighborhood, right? But then there are people who travel all around the world. No matter where you go, no matter whether it's high or low, there's going to be somebody there. So as you embark on this journey and you travel, you have to be willing to travel alone, right? Because part of that journey requires you to be alone. So you have to become comfortable traveling alone, but just know that over time and eventually you will start to build a new tribe of people that are going to be able to support you, that are going to be able to enlighten you, that are going to be able to encourage you, that are going to be able to assist you. But you're not going to meet those people if you don't start to take those steps. And then for people who are in a job and you're having these difficulties in your employment, or you know that your worth is more valuable than what that company is able to provide, or you don't see a future for yourself in that job, and you see a future for yourself in business ownership and investing in entrepreneurship, just know that it's a process, and don't discount the experience that you've been able to gain from your employment. Right. There are a lot of benefits of being employed, both financially, from an investment standpoint, from a skill standpoint, from a network standpoint. So don't look at all the negatives, look at some of the positives and think about what you can take away from that job, and what you're able to take away as you're working in that job, but then craft that blueprint that you're going to start to implement as you move forward. You have to have a plan. And that plan can't just be in your mind. You have to be able to start to put thoughts down on paper, right?
Yes, sir. Yeah.
I carry a notebook with me religiously. You have to be able to start to craft that literal blueprint of what your life is going to be. Where do you want to be in 3 years? Where do you want to be in 5 years? Where do you want to be in 10 years? And then make a decision. That's one of the key points too, is making a decision. I remember, early on, and this goes back to that mastering the conviction. I can't believe I did mention this earlier. At some point, you have to make a decision. You have to make a decision. I can remember vividly early on in my real estate career. Funny enough, I didn't have a car. When I first got back to the States, I didn't have a car. I had a real estate license before I had a car. So, so I'm taking the bus to the real estate office. I don't know if you know what Zipcar is. So I had to meet a client. I was getting a Zipcar, rent a car by the hour. I was renting a car by the hour. Yep. And I remember I was walking to the bus stop on my way to the office, and it was, what I had to do at the time. But I remember telling myself that, I don't have another option. I don't have a plan B. This career, this path that I'm going on is going to have to work because I have no plan B. Now, when I say there is no plan B, I don't mean that there won't be detours. I don't mean that there won't be a job that you have to take in the meantime. I don't mean how the journey starts is exactly how it's going to end, but I mean making a decision that you are going to bet on yourself, and that no matter what you have to go through, at the end of the day, you are going to see it through, because there is no other option. You have burned all of the bridges.
Oh, baby.
And so you have no choice but to figure it out.
That's right. That's right. That's right. And you know what? I hear the word decision, and I always tell people, how's your decision muscle? And they look at me kind of weird, and because it oftentimes, and you said it, most people are uncomfortable making decisions because they don't normally make them. We all run on autopilot if we really think about it, but you have make changes and decisions. You make a decision, you got to make that decision. I mean, so I love that message. Man, I tell you, boy, time has flown by, and I've enjoyed myself, and I know the folks in the audience have, and they're certainly going to enjoy it when they see you later. And we have all your information in the box now in the chat. So, Kevin, I want to just say thank you for sharing yourself with us today and dropping a bunch of bomb nuggets. And I want to just go back all the way back to the jungle. And I'm glad you brought that up. You know, and I was always raised that you want to imagine yourself being in the jungle. Do you want to be the lion, the king of the jungle, or do you want to be their dinner?
Yeah.
You know, and to me, that's like, okay, I got to make sure I figure out a way to do this. So you were eloquent in how you delivered that message. And it's been a pleasure to have you here today. And look forward to having some more conversations with you back on here in the future.
Absolutely. Thank you, Geoff, again for the opportunity. Thank you for allowing me to just share some of my experience, some of my thoughts, and hopefully, you know, we were able to help somebody. I always say if I was able to help you, just take that one more additional step, then I've done my job. So thank you for putting together the platform, and we're absolutely going to get together. I still got to get you on my platform to talk, so we got to tie that down. But I thank you again for the opportunity, and I'm always here to talk and to share whenever you need me. So I appreciate it.
Hey, man, you can count on it. Listen, talk to you again soon. Have a great day, and thank you. Love and respect.
Peace, peace. Thank you.
All right. Woo! What did I tell you? Hey, listen, for those of you that hung in here the whole time, I put in the chat the value you got in that, and let Kevin know, share some love with him, please. And boy, what a guy, what a message. And I want to tell you that what he's saying is true, and the world that we live in now is changing, and we can make a difference at home, make a difference with your family, make a difference in your community, and don't ever, ever, ever let someone else tell you how you're supposed to live and who you're supposed to be. So listen, I'm gonna wrap it up. Again, appreciate you joining us, coming and having a sit down with Geoff. And hey, you can check this out on YouTube too, Conversations with Geoff, if you don't find that. And if you're a real estate investor looking for a group, transcending lives of new real estate investors. And we also have mastermind.com. So if you're looking for some additional higher level training, come check us out. And listen, we appreciate everybody showing up. See you soon. Have a good day. Bye-bye.